Hey everybody, and welcome to another Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Brick Built review. This time we're going to be taking a look at the Dragonzord made by Hasbro. This set comes with 3 minifigures, 280 pieces, and is recommended for ages 5 and up. We're going to start by taking a look at the minifigures that come in this set, starting with the Green Ranger here. And I think this is a fair attempt at trying to create a Lego-like Power Ranger figure. However, you can definitely tell it is lacking some quality, like in the legs here when the light hits it, you can see they're a little scratched up. Also, if you look closely at the right hand of the minifigure, you can see that it's also a little deformed. The figure does have a fair bit of printed detail on it. You can see some printing on the wrist of the figure as well as on the chest and helmet. And I don't necessarily mind the printed detail on the chest and the helmet, I think they look relatively solid for the quality we get here. The helmet can be removed to reveal a plain face underneath that is a little rough around the edges. I don't think this looks very good and I find it to be rather ugly. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at the Black Ranger, and I'm very disappointed by this minifigure in particular because the helmet of my Black Ranger is pretty messed up. There's definitely some kind of printing error going on with it, as the top half of the helmet isn't supposed to be that white-gray color. I do like the chest print of this figure in particular because the elephant I find to be really detailed for such a small print. Just like with the Green Ranger, there's also some printing on the figure's wrist, however I do wish it wrapped all the way around the figure's arms. But based on what we've seen so far, I'm definitely asking too much from this company. Removing the helmet of the minifigure, we can also find another plain face underneath that looks rather ugly and is very disappointing to see. Last up, we're going to be taking a look at the White Ranger, which out of the 3 minifigures is probably the one that's in the best condition. And I do like the printing of this minifigure overall. I think it looks relatively solid. I especially like the extra printing on the minifigure's arms here. And overall, I actually think this is a halfway decent looking figure. I do wish there was more consistency with the quality of these minifigures across the board. And while I do think this minifigure is decent, the other two had various issues between them due to poor quality. Removing the helmet of the figure, we are presented with yet another plain looking face that looks rather rough around the edges. With the minifigures out of the way, we're now ready to talk about the main build of this set, the Dragonzord. And overall, I really dislike the design of the Dragonzord here. I think it looks absolutely nothing like what it's trying to represent. Combine its ugly design with the poor quality we've seen in the minifigures, and we have a disaster of a set waiting to happen. There are no printed pieces in this set, so all of the details you see on the Dragonzord are stickers. And there's no indication on the instructions on where you should place them. This means you have to take a look at the small picture on the front of the box to decide where they should go. The instructions should have definitely included where the stickers should be placed throughout the build process. As far as the actual design of the stickers, I think some of them look rather nice and some of them look pretty terrible. This set does come with some articulation. You can see there are 2 ball joints on the Dragonzord's elbow. But unfortunately, as you're about to see, when I articulate the arm, it pops right off. And I'm not too surprised by this because when I reviewed the Megazord a couple weeks ago, it had a similar issue. The torso of the Dragonzord can be rotated around, and while the torso doesn't fall off here, I do find it to be rather weak, and when I was setting up this review, it did pop off a couple of times. There's also some articulation in the lower half of the Dragonzord, and as I turn the Dragonzord and start to articulate the leg here, you can see that it pops off. And if you haven't been able to tell, this is a very, very fragile build. I spent more time putting this thing back together after it fell apart than actually filming the review. I will say interestingly though, the right leg actually felt rather sturdy when I was moving it around. You can see there's a ball joint in the knee as well as the hip of the Dragonzord. But of course, all good things must come to an end because when I went to articulate the foot, it popped right off. Now we're going to be taking a look at the tail of the Dragonzord, which has a lot of ball joints, which actually offers for a pretty wide variety of articulation and range of motion. But of course, after moving it around for a little bit, it does eventually pop off. I'm not real sure how Hasbro expects kids 5 and up to be able to play with this toy when moving it around causes half of it to fall off. The last thing I want to mention is I find it rather funny that the box says compatible with other brands when the set isn't even compatible with itself. I paid $18 for the set at a local store on the clearance aisle, and you can find the set online anywhere from $19 to $80. But for me personally, I don't think this set is really worth any money at all. I find it to be a rather ugly set, the minifigures are of poor quality, and if you touch it, it falls apart. Thank you so much for watching my review, and if you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel for future brick built reviews.